Hi, today is September 13 and as I'm having a hike in the Mount Tam watershed north of San Francisco, I just noticed a very interesting phenomenon. Today the weather is really bad, it's all misty, not too cold, but water has been dripping from the trees all the way up to this ridge where I'm in. And that's because the Pacific Ocean is throwing all this humidity, which is stopped by the first range, Mount Tam in our case. And usually what happens is, when it's not real rain, is there's a section right after the ridge on the east side, so protected from the Pacific, which becomes really dry. And then maybe the drizzle will pick up. And so I'm on the ridge, and that's the way down to the east side, and I'm going to show you something. As you can see, it's still very wet here, but as I progress on the trail, you're going to notice that the ground is becoming drier and drier. All of a sudden here, as you see, I'm standing about at the limit. You see the roots here are wet, here it's still a little wet, and in front of me it's becoming drier and drier to a point where it's totally dry here. So one might think, well, maybe there's a big tree up above the trail. The answer is no, it's actually smaller trees than usual. And that's where it becomes interesting. If I continue down the trail for just a few yards, then, I'm not sure how this is going to show in the camera, but you see a dark area here. And progressing towards that dark area, you can very easily see that it's wet again. So I'm thinking, okay, that was a short dry zone. Let's see what's further out. Continuing down, I then realized that after this small wet patch, the trail and the forest are totally dry again. So I'm thinking, that's interesting. How come there's one wet spot and the rest of the trail is dry on the east side? And then I remembered what Charles Bellow at the Redwoods Forest Ranch up near Willits told me. He told me it's very important to keep the tall, long redwood trees on the slopes, because they are the ones who catch up the water. So I turn around and I think, interesting. Look at that wet spot. You see, here's the trail, here's the wet spot. What kind of tree is that? Looking up, sure enough, it's a redwood. And it's much taller than the trees surrounding it. There's actually two of them, 1 and 2. And together, they basically capture the mist up there and act as a water pump for this side of the slope. You see how this is all wet, where the rest is totally dry. So Mr. Bellow, I guess you were right. We need to keep these tall trees up on the ridges, or the forest is going to dry up.